Okay, peeps, welcome back. So LTCN keeps dropping like a rock. Now what? Let's get it. So this is going to be the LTCN HZEN BCHG BTBT and cipher update. So before I get into the actual charts, I want to show you guys what we've been doing with the portfolio recently. So as you guys can see, we have BTBT and cipher here. For those of you guys that don't know what these are Bitcoin miner stocks. They're extremely important. Let's just put it like this. If the Bitcoin cannot be mined, the Bitcoin cannot be sold to the market, and buyers on the market cannot buy the Bitcoin. That's how important it is. Bitcoin needs to be mined in order for the Bitcoin network to work. So it's very, very important that these guys stay in business and continue to mine Bitcoin. So with that being said, you guys can see that we've added quite a bit of shares here. We have 126.7 shares. Our average cost is roughly about 360. Current price is 287. We are going to continue to buy more all the way down into support. So we take a look at the calendar week here. You guys can see the week started on the 7th. So we'll click on the transactions tab. And you guys can see that we bought quite a bit. We got some here, some here, some here, some here, and then our biggest purchase here for about 20 shares. So we'll scroll back down real quick. Take a look at Cipher, which is the other one. We have mainly been buying BTBT because, like we told you guys before, we think that the upside for BTBT is greater. Reason being is because the all-time high was much higher than Cipher, but also the market cap of BTBT is much smaller than Cipher. And generally speaking, the smaller the market cap, the more the upside. It's a little bit more risky. The lower the market cap, the riskier the bet, so to speak, but the upside is much greater. So as you guys can see on a cipher, we're down about $1 a share. We've mainly been focusing on BTBT. We want to get our cost basis to a certain point before we buy more. So we only purchased cipher once this week. That's when BTBT was up and cipher was down. I forget which trading day it was, but at the time that we bought, shortly after market open, that's what was happening. So that's why we bought that. So now let's get into the charts. So as you guys can see, LTCN, kind of like we told you guys before, had this tweezer top. This is generally an extremely bearish candle formation. Generally speaking, when you get something like this, especially with the chart being this overextended, that's going to indicate a very strong possibility of a reversal, and that's exactly what we saw. And then you saw this huge, massive dumpola candle right here, just ridiculous amount of dumping. So let's measure this. So from pretty much the exact top to where we are right now, we're down, or to the wick bottom, I mean, roughly about 54%. As of the weekly close, roughly about 46%. And as of the top of the wick of the most recent week to the wick low, down about 48%, and about 40% on the week. So just on the 1 week alone, we've had roughly about a 40% drop. That's a huge drop for something like this. So what do I expect going forward? Well, we're just now getting out of overbought territory. As you guys can see, this thing got pretty ridiculous. We did tell you that we thought this was a warning flag. There could be a reversal. Excuse me. So it currently sits at about $10. In terms of what the charts are telling me, I mean, this is a pretty large red candle body, and it's an engulfing candle, which means it was bigger than the previous green candle to the downside. That's generally pretty bearish as well. The only real saving grace for the bulls here is that it's still sitting on the EMAs. We could bounce and go back into support. But to be completely honest, it would not surprise me if we actually came back below these EMAs and kind of retested the $7 to $8 range. I would say retesting support is a greater probability at this point. I'm not being bearish. I'm just being honest with y'all. It could go back up and bounce straight into 15 or 13 to 15 bucks again. That's possible. It could do that. But I think the likelihood is it's probably going to range for a little while, somewhere between $7 to $8, maybe as high as $10 or $11, or wherever the EMAs are sitting at the time before we go back up. It could be quite a few weeks before that happens, because again, the chart supported. You guys can see we came up here, hit resistance, got rejected, kind of chopped around a little bit. Very, very similar thing here. Also, we were kind of testing resistance, got beat down, came down a little bit, then chopped around for months on end before we started moving up. The only exception here is that this candle is so massive that it's possible also that we may not chop around, that we might just go straight back up because of the fact that it was such an aggressive sell-off candle. Or maybe we have like a few weeks of bobbing around. Maybe we come down a little bit lower for a couple of weeks and then we start to move back up again, straight into this previous resistance with the high of about $15. I would say those are all possibilities, but again, I would probably place the greatest probability right now on LTCN going to somewhere between $7 to $8 a share. So with HZEN, we're not overbought, but we are in the bull territory on the MACD and the RSI. You have this kind of really weird red candle formation here. I would say this is not really bullish nor bearish, even though it is a sell candle. Reason being is because you have this long wick rejection here that basically the buyers sucked the price back up straight into resistance, and we closed within resistance. So not a breakout, but not a breakdown. I would say it's still in consolidation. Is it possible that we could get rejected and come back down to the EMAs at 124 share? Yeah, I would say that's pretty likely. I would say it's even possible we could go back down to the support zone between 37 to 67, although at this point, that's not likely. We would want to see some kind of candle close below the EMAs to confirm the move lower, and we have not seen that yet. So at this point, I would say it's pretty neutral. I would not really give a high probability to either a breakout or a breakdown, probably just some more consolidation. So now on to BCHG. You guys can see, well, I believe we did point this out to you before. This candle right here is what's known as a shooting star. It's not a perfect shooting star, but usually you'd want to see like a perfect candle close down here at the bottom with no wick. But that was a potential reversal candle, and that's exactly what happened. So from the top of that candle to the candle wick low we were sitting roughly about 42% down as of right now. We are down roughly about 29% from that particular wick high. And from the body close to the wick low, you guys got about a 33% dip buying opportunity. And we're currently down about 18% on the week. You know what's interesting about this? BCHG actually went down less than LTCN, even though LTCN, according to previous history, has a much higher multiple potential than BCHG. I mean, BCHG from where it's at right now could do like a 15 or 20x to previous all-time highs. Of course, it could go higher. It could always go higher, and there's probably a likelihood that it will. But LTCN from where it currently sits right now is about a 50x to previous all-time highs. So I find that to be very interesting. Market psychology has always been quite fascinating. So we bounced off the EMAs. I would say probably going to be a struggle between the bulls and the bears for a little bit as to whether we hold this zone here as support between 380 to 417. If we do, we could be heading up to 530 to 575 a share. If not, most likely going to come back down and test this support zone down here between 280 to roughly about 240 a share. So now we're going to go into BTBT and cipher. And I want you guys to take a quick look at this. You notice that, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the Bitcoin price is actually, it only came down a little bit. But look at these minor stocks. These are all minor stocks. Mara, Riot, HUD8, BTBT, and Cipher got absolutely smashed on Friday's trading session. I mean, just smashed. I mean, look at this. This is just crazy. So BTBT, it came back down exactly to the EMAs, just like we kind of thought it would. Again, this is kind of a double top formation here. These candles, you get your first top here and your second top here. It doesn't matter if it's multiple touches or one candle. A double top is a double top in trading. That's how traders view it. They don't really care if it's, textbook perfect or not. So with that being said, from the wick high to the low here, down about 44%. And from the weekly close down, just on the weekly, we're down about 20%. So if we look real close here, it looks like it just barely closed below the EMAs. What I'm expecting BTBT to do is actually to come back down to the support zone between $1.50 to $2 a share. And if that does, we're going to be loading the boat. So just wanted to let y'all know that, and to let you guys know on the inverse, which is also true, or would be true if it goes back up. So from where we are right now to the wick high, you're talking about an 80% gain. So that's almost a 2x. Let's just say you got your average price somewhere in the middle of this buy zone. You'd be taking a look at roughly about a 194% gain. So again, support is between $1.50 to $2. Resistance between $4.20 to roughly about $4.80 a share. Cipher, you get this shooting star candle here, and we did sell off after that. If any of you guys are traders, you know exactly how this plays out. You get a massive shooting star like this, especially on the weekly, it's a pretty high probability there's going to be a sell-off. So from the peak to the bottom, we're down roughly about 42%. And on the weekly, down roughly about 19%. The most relevant support is between 225 to I would say about 270 a share. And the resistance is between $5 and $5.40 per share. So if you pick some up right now and you manage to, sorry about that, if you pick some up right now and you manage to get back up to this swing high here, you'd be looking at roughly about a 74% gain. If you manage to get your average cost basis somewhere in the support zone and then sell roughly about that swing high, you're taking a look at roughly about 136%. So there is a couple more things I want to show you all before we close this video out. And I think these are relevant. So the price of Bitcoin, as you guys can see, the bearish divergence is still playing out. So you got the RSI coming down, price still trying to go up, but not very good at this point. You have this ascending triangle. We basically got trapped straight back into it, and looks like we actually even got to close below. So that could be a bearish sign. Bitcoin could be going back to roughly about 37,000 to 40,800, somewhere in there. So the major support and also this macro trend line here, as you guys can see, is between 31,000 and 37,000. But do keep this bearish divergence in mind. It could play out at any point. The MACD looks like it might be starting to try to curl over, which is bearish. We keep getting shot back down. We did hit the price target on the ascending triangle with this wick, technically speaking, but we just keep getting shot back down. We can't seem to break out of this resistance area here, so we'll have to see how this plays out. But there is a possibility that a pullback may be coming pretty quickly. So the other thing I want to point out to you guys, for those of you guys that are into buying native cryptos, this is the total 3. This is all cryptos excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. As you guys can see, we're in a macro resistance zone here. This was treated as previous support during the previous bull market. Now retesting as resistance. So you guys can see we've had 4 weekly rejections here with all these wicks. We're currently roughly around a $500 billion market cap. This thing could go as conservatively down as roughly about 80 billion. If we measure this from where we currently are right now, you're talking roughly about a 15% pullback on altcoins. And if we go down to the support zone, which is roughly about 320 billion to roughly about 290 billion, you're talking anywhere from a 35% to a 41% pullback in altcoins. So not financial advice, but we always keep cash on the side for instances like this. When the market does tank, we have plenty of dry powder to buy the dip as much as we want. So you might maybe want to consider holding some money on the side, or we've taken some profits to basically raise some extra capital in order to be able to buy opportunities like this if they pop up. Again, not financial advice, but if the dip does come and you don't have any cash on the side to buy it, well, you're SOL. I don't know what to tell you about that. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see y'all later. Peace.